All right, now, like I previously stated, Netflix has ordered a new series centered around the Kung Fu Panda franchise titled Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight. The thing that's different about this series this time around is Jack Black is actually returning to voice Po, and it follows Po as he leaves his home to journey across the world, teaming up with a stern English knight named the Wandering Blade to find magical weapons in order to save the world from destruction, is what I meant to say. My experience with Kung Fu Panda has, I don't know, it's been kind of funny. Like, I haven't seen the second and third films, but I just remember the first film being much better than expected, being much better than it had any business being, about literally animals doing kung fu. I'll never forget when I was 10, I went to go see the B movie in theaters. Right.
Oh.
And one of the trailers, one of the previews that I had before the film was Kung Fu Panda. And I remember thinking to myself, again, like, I'm 10 at this point, and I'm like, that looks stupid. Kung Fu Panda, like, oh, what's that? Not only did the movie I went there to see that day, B movie, end up being just weird, and honestly, like, looking back, like, really just kind of bad. Like, Kung Fu Panda, like, was actually great. Like, watching that months later, like, I was just, like, really surprised at how great this movie was, how funny it was, how thrilling the action was, how wise it ended up being. Like, that was a movie, like I said, that I had no business being as good as it was, but I'm happy it is the way it is. Now, of course, you've obviously seen Kung Fu Panda. Have you seen the second and third films? Are they any good?
Yeah, I've seen the second and third ones. I think third one was meh. Second one was alright. But I love Kung Fu Panda. I love Jack Black. I love Po. I love how it's a big panda doing kung fu and flipping around. That's just so cool to see. And plus, I like pandas actually. And I remember they did the show on Netflix like a while ago, but that didn't feel the same. And I don't think Jack Black was in that one. So knowing that they're doing a new show and Jack Black himself is returning, I'm actually pretty excited. I'm pretty excited.
He was one of the best parts. He was one of the best parts of the movies. That movie wouldn't have been as well received as it was. It wouldn't have been as good as it was if it wasn't for Jack Black at the center. And again, that movie had a lot going for it. The animation was great, music was excellent, voice cast was terrific. Honestly, I think someone else who's very underrated in that film is Dustin Hoffman as Master Shifu. I thought I feel like he might be my favorite character in that movie, honestly. But that being said, this new series, like, having Jack Black at its center yet again, I think it could be really interesting. And I'm just wondering too, with Po being the way he is, right? Like, the sort of, like, goofy, lackadaisical character, like, kind of thrown into the kung fu, and then you have this other character that's teaming up with that's supposed to be a bit more on the serious end of things. I wonder how that's going to go. I feel like that could be an interesting dynamic. But at the same time, we've kind of already seen it, too, between Po and Master Shifu. Because, again, Master Shifu is very much the same way.
Exactly. So it's going to be nice to see new dynamics as well in the show. But also, another thing, considering it's a show, and I don't think they've even said this, is what's the time frame? Is this after 1, after 2, after 3? Like, that I'm really interested in knowing. I think it would make sense for it to be after 3, but still, where does it fit in that timeline? I think that'll be interesting to know as well. Like, that'll be pretty cool to at least know of where it takes place. Because if it's after 3, then it's like, oh, there's more in Kung Fu Panda that they're willing to tell. And is there a possibility of a Kung Fu Panda 4 movie? I doubt it, but it could be on the table.
Not. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I haven't seen 2 and 3, but I feel like most of the time, like, if just things should just be a trilogy. Like, there comes a point when things just run for too long.
Yeah.
And if Kung Fu Panda ended off on a relatively decent note, then why? And that's another thing. That's another thing I'm curious too, as far as, like, about the show. Why is this happening now? Especially when you have numerous series and shorts that have already been spawned off of, the Kung Fu Panda movies.
Yeah. It's that sort of thing where it's like certain stories are meant to just end and stop and start anew, and start new ones. But nope, they want to keep IPs going as long as, 3 generations, but 4 or 5, whatever it may be. But that's just how it is sometimes. I mean, look at Star Wars.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, that's. Oh boy, yeah. So that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother discussion for another day. But what do you all think of the idea of yet another Kung Fu Panda series being developed? Does Jack Black is what I meant to say. So good at talking. Does Jack Black being at the center of this series like change anything for you? Does the fact that it's a Netflix series change anything for you? Leave your thoughts in the comment section.